Daily Ledger contributor Kimberly Dvorak. Kimberly, we've seen a familiar refrain now, and that is attack critics. The Obama administration will attack critics really no matter what it is. But in this case, of course, it's the deal with Iran, and they are viciously attacking Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, who is standing up for his country, and they're saying that he's not offering an alternative. Well, he is. He has clearly stated what he thinks, and that is Iran should have zero capacity for any kind of nuclear capability, peaceful or otherwise.
Yeah, I'd just like to also point out, though, to the Sunni side, which is Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf nations, they also death to America and eventually would like to get around to the same thing that Iran is. So, you know, we're dealing with two bad characters in the region, and the person or the country that has the most to lose, of course, is Israel and the European Union. So why are they not, why is Israel not at that negotiating table? And I think that therein lies the issue and some of the distrust that we're seeing right now.
So what you're saying is essentially is that look for Saudi Arabia, possibly Turkey, to say, hey, we need nuclear programs too, just to keep up, right?
Yeah, I mean, and in essence, what they say the deal will do is enhance and increase a nuclear-armed region, which is always the most volatile, or at least it has been for the last, half century or so. And the fear is that, it'll just take one little spark, like maybe Yemen, to, set the fuse, and one country decides they're going to, set off a bomb against another country, and then everybody feels they've got to start participating and choosing sides. The one thing also that we need to point out here with the Iranian situation, we've talked about it here for several months, that the United States has placed these Patriot missile 3s around Iran, and these are missiles kind of like Iran or Israel's Iron Dome, that if the Iranians decide they're going to send up some sort of ballistic missile, which they have ballistic missile capabilities and which remains on the table, and the Obama administration is going to allow them to keep, then they would in turn at least have some sort of defensive measures. They may not get all of them that they send out, but they'd be able to do that. So now we're starting to see why we've been arming the entire region in the Middle East.
It makes no sense to me that the ICBMs were not on the table as part of these discussions, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to add it all up and say a nuclear capability, ICBMs, and a stated goal of destruction of Israel, and you have disaster on your hands. And we are allowing them, Obama is allowing them to keep, what is it, about 6,000, 6,500 centrifuges. Now, we are told that they're only going to be able to enrich uranium to 3.67%. That's about 16% lower than the threshold for a bomb. But let's face it, all they have to do is ratchet up those numbers. And how in the world are we all and the international community going to actually verify and keep track of this?
Well, I mean, therein lies the issue. I mean, we know that Iran, despises America, despises the West, and Israel in particular. So, I mean, I'm not certain that we could even trust. So when the President of the United States comes out and says the framework for the deal that we're going to start now moving forward with, relies heavy on trust from the Iranians, you're going to have to, look at it and kind of laugh at the President and go, you're a funny guy, because they haven't been very trustworthy in the past. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people kind of getting a little overexcited about this, because it really relies on trust, and it's not a country we can trust. And as they saw it coming into this, segment here, death to America. I mean, that was literally a week ago. So clearly, there are some problems, concerns that we have to account for. And again, do we really trust what the Iranians are going to tell us?
Right, and that goes for the greater Middle East, because if you just move a few hundred miles away to Yemen, it's chaos, and it appears to me to be a lose-lose situation. I mean, where is this going to end up? Even with Saudi Arabia, trying to quell the situation, if you will, Al-Qaeda is now, from what we understand, I want to hear your sources, running them up there.
Yeah, well, you've got three factions there fighting. You've got the Yemenis, the majority of the country, 90 to 95% of the country is Muslim. It is the oldest and poorest country with difficult terrain in the region. They do have waterway control. That presents a logistical problem. And you've got the Houthis who are backed by the Iranians. You've got the Sunnis that are backed by the Saudi Arabians. And then you also have Al-Qaeda, who at any given time would like to take on any and all of them. So you have utter chaos. You've got the military coming out on the record saying that they've got their hands full. We had to evacuate all of our special operations, and we notified the world that we evacuated them, which presents another problem. So that is an issue. And then on top of that, we just don't have any kind of control in the situation, and people behind the scenes are telling me off the record it's much worse than anybody realizes, and they are conceding that Yemen is lost. And we know the president, back in September of last year, held up Yemen as a success story, and Yemen's gone.
Right, and meantime, just to kind of connect the dots, we only got about 10 seconds left, you have countries like Iran and Turkey licking their chops at situations like this to fill the void just like that was filled in Iraq.
Yeah, it comes down to a power vacuum and who's going to fill the void. And you've got a few different bad actors that all want to fill that void. And it's, unclear at this point who will be the winner and who will be the loser. But I think on the American front, we need to look at this and say, what American interest are we fighting for here? Is there anything that we need out of this region, or is this really something we ought to let the Israelis discuss with the Iranians and let us take a step back here? Because they don't present a national security threat to us. Eventually they could, but they have no means of attacking us with nuclear weapons at this point.
Right, at this point. And it doesn't make any sense to me that none of the countries in the region were at that bargaining table.
No,
we're out of time. Kimberly, thanks. Still